Some of you don't own a business. Some of you are thinking, okay, this is great information. However, I'm not an employee. Like, I'm not an employer. I don't, have employees. I don't have a W-2 outside of the paycheck that I receive. So now let's talk a little bit about something that does apply to you. Let's talk about where you're at right now. We call it what now. And then let's talk about where you're going to be. And that's what's next. This is going to be the theme for our event that we're doing. We have an event coming up in Utah in March, and that event is called The Experience. Many of you joined us at the one that we did at my house last August. This is the second one. And, there's, I think, 3 or 4 seats left for it. I don't know. Shauna knows that number, but it's going to be the whole theme, because really the whole idea is, COVID hasn't gone away. It keeps morphing, it keeps changing, there's different variants. But the one thing I think that's pretty clear and kind of a breath of fresh air, is this new variant, which is the most contagious and it seems like the one that's spreading the fastest, is a lot less serious, or at least that's what the experts are saying out there. I don't even know who to believe anymore. But anyway, so it looks as though we're kind of seeing hopefully the light at the end of the tunnel for this thing, but it has done catastrophic damage to a lot of people's lives. It's done catastrophic damage to families. It's done damage to many businesses. As you saw, a lot of restaurants closed, a lot of businesses were affected in big ways, but that's what happened in your rear view mirror. And if we live our lives if we live our lives looking in the rear view mirror, then how do you ever know what's coming, or how do you ever get excited? You don't. You're constantly focused on the rearview mirror. This is a mistake that a lot of investors make. And Stephen and I talked a lot about this morning on what the F happened. Investing, looking in the rearview mirror. In other words, looking at past performance of investments. When you only focus on the past, you don't get a clear view of what's out the front window. Now, I hope to God, none of you are driving your cars when you're staring at the rearview mirror, just looking at the cars behind you, because I hope to God I'm not the car in front of you. Because there's just lots of accidents that happen that way. We got to look out the front window, and out the front window is a whole different picture than the rear view, because it shows you what's happening in front of you and what's coming. And I think that's the most important thing to look at here. It's the end of a year. It's a time to reflect on the different things that happened this year. And I did say one key thing, reflect, but it's also time to forget about them. They're done, folks. They're over. The past is gone. You can't change it. It's been there. There's nothing that can be done about it. The only thing you can control is right now. And right now, you need to start thinking about what is the front, the windshield view, what's next. What is that going to look like? Is it going to look the same as it did this year? I hope not. Some of you might say, well, this year was pretty good. Good. If it was a good year this year, next year's got to be a better year. But in order to make next year, 2022, a better year, we got to do some planning. We got to set some things in place. Listen, if I could just take what's in my mind and implant it in all of your minds, I think we'd be pretty good from a wealth standpoint. But the most important thing, and me and Stephen talk about it, a lot of the 6 laws of wealth. And I want to put something on the screen. Shauna put this together, and we want to give this to every one of you.
Is that the budget sheet thing?
Yeah. I'm going to show everybody what we've created.
Yeah, there's something I want to say about that, Chris, because you're talking about leaving, 2020 and 2021 in the past and everything that's happened and whatnot. But what we have to remember, though, is there's a lot of learning that can be had from that as well, right? And one of the things that, my focus in 2022 and my focus for many, many years in the past is finding out somebody's problems and helping them find a way to solve those problems. And one thing that happens when we have major events in our lives, like COVID, that shuts down the country, is it creates a lot of burdens and a lot of problems for people. But if you have the right mindset, it will also create a lot of opportunities for certain people that understand that and are looking for it. You can't just run into it or have it. You have to actively be looking for it, though. So take the gentleman that we just had on, right, Josh? He saw a big problem. COVID was shutting down companies. They didn't have enough money to pay their employees. People were going out of business because of it, and employees were having to go on unemployment. And he said, what if I could teach companies how to take advantage of a program that the government is offering and help these companies stay in business and take advantage of that? And he's created this EDC company now, or whatever, ERC or whatever it is, that is now a company that he's out here promoting and marketing and presumably making good money from starting this company. I mean, think back to when 9/11 happened and the TSA was created, and now we have to walk through these security checkpoints. Well, what came out after that? All of these ways to get through security by not making it as much of a hassle. So they came out with laptop bags that you didn't have to take your laptop out because of the way that they sat inside of the scanner. And they made, different shoes that you could slide in and off, and like dumb things like that. But somebody made millions of dollars. And I bet you if we ask people on here to think back to things that have happened in the past and solutions that people came up with and the billions of dollars that they made, why not you? Why do you have ideas like that? And I just saw something earlier on Twitter that made me think of this. And it just simply said, the best way to, create the future that you have a problem with in the past, or something like that. I'll have to go look at it. But it was just talking about what you always say, Chris. The best way to predict the future is to invent it. And that's what I really want people to concentrate on in 2022. What I'm doing, what we're talking a lot about with the experience, and we're going to launch things in March out in Utah with this experience. But what now and what's next? So where are you now in relation to what happened over the last couple of years? And how are we going to take advantage of what's going on now and move into the future with that? And I love the theme and I love what we're doing with it. And we're going to talk, the budget planner on the screen right now. We can definitely send this out. Budgeting is very good for certain people. If you're like me, though, I've never, ever lived on a budget. I've tried. Trust me, I've tried. It's just not in my DNA. I can't do it. I've always fallen back to the mentality of, F you, I'm going to spend what I want. I'm just going to go make more money. So if I need more money, I'll start a new business. If I need more business money, I'll learn something new and I'll implement a new strategy. So that's always been me. So some people love budgets though. So it's very important, but we're not all the same beings. That's all I'm trying to say.
Oh man, I love that you just said that, because that is so vitally important. Because you know what? I do a budget, but I do a budget for my wife. Okay. I don't need a budget because I'm just like you, Stephen, and just like Claudia, where I follow what Elon says. I don't focus on like canceling Netflix. I don't focus on drinking cheaper coffee. I don't focus on those things. I just say, if I love Starbucks, damn well find a way to pay for Starbucks. If I like Netflix, which I personally could care less, I find a way to pay it. Make more money to solve those problems instead of worrying about insignificant things and living in a scarcity mindset. But listen, I'm not saying that what me and Steven and Claudia believe is right for everybody, which is why we created this budget planner. My wife needs this. My wife needs to see how much money do we have and how much money are we spending. So what I do for my wife is I just eliminate the top part. I don't show her the income. I just show her, hey, honey, this is how much money you're spending. Look at all these expenses. And I say, can we get on a budget for how much money you need every month to do the things you need for you and Vivi? So I'm kind of joking about that, but I'm really not. But each of you can use a budget for your life any way you want. I think the most important thing for most people, yeah, I'm a brave man. For most people, what they really just need to see in the form of a budget is they need to see how much money is going out, how much money is leaking from your family every month. I'm not talking about Netflix or Starbucks. I'm talking about the bad ones, right? The bad ones are not things you enjoy, like the credit card payments every month that you're giving up 20%, the line of credit at 8% that you borrowed money, you don't even remember what you used it for, but every month you're just making minimum payments and it never is going away. Those are the ones we need that we really need to solve. And the money multiplier in that whole concept, the infinite banking concept, is one of the best ways that I've ever seen and ever taught to show you how to take back the money you're giving away, how to create wealth through your own debts and expenses. Because if you're giving up $500 a month to credit card payments, figure out what the interest rate is you're giving up to all of them, and let's figure out how to take that money back and keep that money every month. The budget would help you do that. So again, there's no one person that's the same. Not one of you operate the same way. Maybe you got a significant other that just likes to spend a little too much money and you got to put them on a budget. We'll put them on a budget. Give them a piece of paper and say, here's how much money you can spend, however you want to use it. But the other thing that's important to really reflect on, and this can be based on the prior year, and let's get into the money side of it, is the markets. Look at how good the markets have done. I think it's safe to say that everybody thinks they're brilliant when it comes to investing money because everybody made money this year, and probably most people probably made money last year if they were invested in the stock market and or crypto or any of those different things. As long as you were invested in it, you more than likely made money. But that has nothing to do with whether or not you're going to make money in 2022. What happened last year, the returns you got should not boost your confidence that you know something or you did well. It's just everything was up. All the stocks, all the mutual funds for the most part, and all the ETFs for the most part, all had phenomenal returns, which is great. Chalk it up as a win for 2021, but do not start to count, your winnings in 2022, because I'm sorry to say that, I don't know when, it's all going to come crashing down.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I mean, like you're saying on What the F this morning, we talked about this article that Peter Lynch and Fidelity put out a couple months back. And basically, a financial advisor and financial firms' Bible, number one rule is to always tell clients, don't worry about the downsides. Over the long term, you'll always make money in the stock market. That's like the number one thing that's always told to investors. Don't worry about it. Keep your money in there. Leave it alone. Over the long term, it's always going to go up. You're always going to make money. That's fine. But when Peter Lynch and Fidelity start putting out articles prepping people for the inevitable come down and crash, that's when you got to say, hey, man, something is coming. And then you got to ask yourself, am I prepared if I see a 10, 20, 30, 50% drop to hold for the next 20, 30 years? Or am I going to need that money in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years to where I'm not? And they're prepping, if you're not prepared to keep it for the very, very long term and weather those 10, 20, 30, 50% drops that they say are coming, Fidelity says is coming right now, then you need to look at getting your money out now as opposed to waiting for the drop and selling out then, because that's how people make money. So if Fidelity's starting to prime that, now they started out saying, don't worry, keep it in there. But if you do need to pull it out, now's the time. So if you're in that position and you're thinking that way, that's now. What now? Then what's next? And that's where the importance of money school, of having a strategy like Money Multiplier, of attending events like the Experience in Sundance, where you're going to meet business partners, investor partners, people that you're going to be able to take your money out of these markets right now and invest it with these other people that have the experience outside of the stock market, so you continue to grow your wealth, create passive income, and enjoy the retirement that you want to live. And where else do you meet those kinds of people, right? And things like the Experience is where that magic happens. It's where those relationships occur, and it's where true success comes from. It's from people. You can study all the charts, you can read all the books in the world, but real success and money is created through relationships. And starting with things like the masterminds, like the Experience, that's where those happen.
Listen, I don't know how to explain this to people, and everybody can say, oh, it's because you're at a certain level and we're not there yet. But I wasn't always at this level. Matter of fact, if any of you have followed any of my stuff, listened to any of my podcasts, you will understand that I come from very humble beginnings, and I've failed probably more times than a whole bunch of you combined. And in those failures is when I realized the mistakes, but I didn't quite understand them and I didn't know how to fix them. And here's the other thing. When we talk about your network, I used to surround myself by people that I grew up with. Okay. One of my best friends, I spent a lot of time with him, but he was a very negative person. Didn't have any desire to do better in life, really just wanted to complain every single day, wanted to work his job, get the faster he could get out of his job and go home and drink, the better. No disrespect to him. He's one of my best friends, but that's who I surrounded myself with. And I found myself when I was around him, my level of expectations, my dreams, my goals, my pursuit always came down a notch, maybe 2 notches, because I was just surrounding myself with the wrong people. Now, back in those days, I didn't have money. I barely could afford the things that I had. Literally, when you say paycheck to paycheck, boy, oh boy, I was living paycheck to paycheck, if even that. I would say the credit card became part of my paycheck. But I got an opportunity to go to my very first mastermind. It was $5,000. I did not have $5,000. I put it on my visa, partly because my fiance, Larissa, actually said, you have to go there. I was in a really dark place. This is when I had lost everything for I think this is my 3rd time losing everything. I went out there not knowing why I was there. I felt way out of place. I felt like I was this little guy amongst greats, right? I was with all these big business owners. But that one event, some of you are just getting around the campfire and seeing this for the first time, but many of you have heard this. That single event that I couldn't afford, that I didn't want to go to because I couldn't rationalize, like, what am I going to get from this? I always thought, like, when I went to an event, I have to get something. I have to sell something. I have to walk away with at least something worth more than $5,000. If you go to an event with that expectation, then nothing is going to change because you went with the wrong expectation. But I went there completely exposed. I didn't know what to expect. I just knew I needed to be around different people that were doing the things I wanted. And that single event, that was, I think, 2015, has paved the way for where I'm at today. You guys don't have to believe me, but all those people at that event, from Scott Duffy to Greg Reed to, the founder of Make-A-Wish, who's, since passed, to, God, there's so many people, I can't even think about it. All those people are people I do business with today. Those are people now that I have made revenue from because of the relationships I created at an event that I didn't want to be at because I didn't think I could afford it, that I almost didn't go to because I let my mind overweigh what the reason or what the purpose of that event was. Listen, I've gone to so many masterminds. I go to masterminds that I pay $30,000 to be at, folks. 30 grand. Most of you are like, you're crazy. Why would you spend 30,000 to go to an event? Well, let me go one step further. The event I pay 30,000 for, which there's two of them right now. Actually, I'm sorry, three, right? One's 20, the other two are 30 that I belong to. 3 masterminds, 3, 6, 7, 8, that I pay $80,000 a year for. I might only go to one of those events that entire year. One. They do 3 or 4 of them. Why would I only go to one? Because time. But why would I ever pay 30,000 if I know I can only go to one? Because at that one event, I'm going to meet that one person that is going to catapult my business and my life faster, smarter, and more efficiently. I know this. You know why I know this? Because I've done it enough times that I know that every event I go to, I don't always know that I met that person at that time, but that person circles back. The universe always provides. It does. Folks, listen, like the experience, you may say it's expensive, which, yeah, $5,000 is a lot of money. It truly is. Like, make no two ways about it. I know what it feels like to spend $5,000 you don't have. I know what it's like to put $5,000 on a credit card that you can't afford. But if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be here today. What is the cost of that, folks? What is the cost that I would have gave? Like, if I didn't go to that event, what is the real cost? Is it $5,000 or is it $5 million that I gave up on? What is the cost? The cost is only an issue in the absence of value. I totally understand, and Stephen understands. $5,000 is a lot of money. It's not a cheap event because we provide a lot of value. But sometimes you got to dig a little deeper and understand that you have to take that leap. I had to do it enough times in snowboarding. I had to do it enough times in business. That leap is scary. It's full of fear. But once you take the leap, I don't know how many of you can contest, but once you take that leap and you get that out of the way, you unlock the potential of the rest of your life. And it could only take one person. You go to an event with 100 people, you only need one, folks. One person will change your life. Hey, if you manage to make relationships with 2 or 3, like most of the people at the last experience, all the better. I'm simply trying to explain to you that sometimes it's not the cost that's the important part. Although you make it the important part because that's what you've been brought up to do, live in a scarcity mindset. It's the value of what you get being there. It's the value of what you get building those relationships. It's the value of what you get upping the surroundings and the people you're hanging out with. That, folks, maybe it's not priceless, but it's pretty damn close. So there's like 3 or 4 seats. It's expensive. It's $5,000. For some of you, like $5,000 is a lot. For some of you, you're like, oh man, I would pay $30,000 to be there. And I know it. I would too. I do it. But to each their own. Make a decision. 3 seats. That's all there's left. And after that, there will be no more. It's not some sales pitch where we're trying to sell the 3 seats. Like, you got to get out of your comfort zone and take the leap like we have had to. But let's get back to the what's next. Stephen just talked a little bit about Peter Lynch, the manager, at Fidelity that ran the most successful fund pretty much of all time. Magellan is saying now might be a time to trim back your holdings in stock. I want to share my screen because he's not the only one saying it. How many of you have ever heard of a gentleman by the name of Ray Dalio? Well, if you haven't, Ray Dalio is the founder of the largest hedge fund in the world called Bridgewater Capital. He wrote a book called Principles. He's featured on so many YouTubes. This right here just posted. December 7th. This is brand new. Listen, folks, when Stephen was talking, I went online and I searched Ray Dalio newest video. This popped up. Can I just play this so you can understand that there's not just 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 people talking about what's coming and what's next for the markets and for all of your money? Listen to this. It would probably help if I...
Than 2000. What I'm really concerned about is that what we have as a worse situation than 2008 regarding the finances. So if you look at history and repeat over periods of time, there is the creation of money and debt to get buying power. But that is being produced by central banks that print that money because they can't finance the debt any other way. And that particular dynamic and the extension of it, which is repeated out in time, that is the big concern. So there's a lot of money sloshing around, but if you think about it, the wave of financial assets, and we talk bonds and debt as alike, is believed to be, it gives buying power, but it's also believed to be that one could sell one's bonds and assets and buy goods and services with that, but the amount that exists out there that are claims is far greater than would be allowed to happen. So there's a financial situation which is deeply of concern to me, and to some extent it provides the liquidity for some of these things to happen. But the things that are happening here, other than being reflective of the liquidity, are really just part of this bigger problem, I think. There's not.
So I'm going to pause it there. I'll share this, folks, and you guys can watch it. But listen, there's tons of videos like this. Harry Dent, we have him on our 3-day event all the time. He's talking about this. Jim Rickards, some of you have read his book, The Next Great Depression, or, The Death of the Dollar. There's lots of them. These people are all highly educated. Some of them are the best schools in history. Some of them run the biggest hedge funds in the world. They're all saying the exact same thing is coming next. And they're all saying that the exact same thing is coming next pretty soon, meaning the end of 2022. So when you make that assumption and you make that kind of, that thought in your mind, you have to look at what you're doing right now, and you have to look at what are you going to do next? Are you going to bury your head in the sand and just pretend that this never happened and just let it blow over like you've done, or so many other people have done so many times in their life? Or are you, for the first time, or maybe for the 100th time, going to stand up and put the torch high in the air and say, you know what, not this time. I'm going to be the leader. I'm going to show other people through the darkness. Well, you know what, folks? That's what Stephen and I did. That's what my entire team did. We got sick of burying our head in the sand and blaming and taking and just hoping everything just went by when times got tough. And partly because I read a book called Hard Times Create Strong Men by Stefan Arnio, one of my friends who passed away. You got to make some decisions. It's the end of 2021. We're about to celebrate the New Year's, okay? And this New Year's should be a monumental one for you because it's been interesting times, to say the least. Hard for some, easy for others, but it's been interesting, to say the least. And we got to really say, what's next? And how are we going to prepare for that? Well, I provide all sorts of ways for you to prepare. Just like this behind me. I'll have Shauna email this out to you, folks. This is an all seasons portfolio. The gentleman that was just shown on that, Ray Dalio, came up with a portfolio suggestion for people. I looked at his portfolio suggestion. Okay. He's way smarter than I am. I'll just be the first to admit it. And I said, you know what? What is he missing there? Because even though he's one of the best investors and the smartest investors out there, he doesn't know everything, because I told you earlier, the biggest problem in America is not what people don't know. He doesn't know everything. The problem is what you think you know that just ain't so. He knows that. I know things he doesn't. He knows things I don't. We learn from one another. This all seasons portfolio that I'm going to send to you may not be right for you, but you know what? It's pretty darn close to an all season portfolio. It's very low in equities, okay? Very high and in incredibly safe places to put your money. Places that I picked up by listening to a lot of economists. places that I've kind of come up with because I've read about the Great Depression in nauseating detail. So I understand what's coming, and all of them do too. But if that's what we understand is coming, then how do you prepare for it? Well, you get smart. You take some gains off the table. And I get criticized all the time. I have haters all the time, especially on TikTok, saying that's the stupidest suggestion ever. Oh, here's another scammer telling people what to do. No, you know what? Take it for what it is. I don't manage money. Steven doesn't manage money. No one here at Money School or the Money Multiplier manages money. I did that 16 years. I don't manage your money anymore, nor does Steven. Have somebody else manage your money. I just will tell you that no one cares more about your money than you. So therefore, you should really start taking it a little bit more serious and learn one or two things, or just be safe and understand that what is about to happen will be catastrophic for many people's finances. You might want to retire in 3 years and you're trying to just nix out that extra return. I just need to make another 10% and then I can retire, until the market collapses and you're working for another 10 years of your life. How's that sound? Because you have a decision. You can either take your gains and play it safe, which is what this all seasons portfolio shows you, or you can roll the dice like so many of you have done in Las Vegas and say, I hope it lands on black, but then it could hit red, or it could hit that little green one. It's a gamble, folks. Each of you have to decide what that gamble is going to be for your life and for your family. And to me, the risk far outweighs the reward. For some of you, you're like, oh, the reward is far too good for the risk. If you say that, and if you think that I'm going to be an asshole now, you're freaking wrong. I almost went back to what the F happened. I swear a lot in what the F happened. You're wrong. The reward, the returns today are an illusion. We've shown this. We've shown statistics. We've shown charts. It's an illusion. It's not what you think. The same reason why the Magellan Fund, which returned pretty much 29%, I think was about the average investor in the Magellan Fund lost money. How is it that the best, fund manager and one of the top performing mutual funds of all time, the Magellan Fund, did so well, but yet the investors in the Magellan Fund lost, most of them lost money by Fidelity. Fidelity Investments will tell you that. It's because too many people allow greed to supersede what logic should have told them. They allow the greed of that next return, or, if I can just make another 10%. That's greed, folks. And that is what will make your money flee you. That is what will make you poor. Logic should tell you, holy cow, the bells are shining. Ray Dalio, Harry Dent, Jim Rickards, all these guys, Peter Lynch are saying it's coming. Logic should tell you what direction you should go. But then you're like, I'm not smart enough to know this. So you give up control of your money, biggest mistake you'll ever make, to somebody else that you think is smarter because of education or whatever their title is. But they don't give a shit about your money. They care about the money you're paying them to manage that. In order for them to make money on your money, it has to be invested. Are you understanding this? You are the best steward of your money. You don't need to understand how to invest your money or where to put your money. You just need to understand that something is coming. It's not going to be good. And maybe it's best to sit on the sidelines. Think of a big, giant snowstorm, right? Like we get here in Buffalo. One that is unnavigatable. You cannot get through it because you can't see 1 inch in front of your windshield. If you don't think those exist, well, come to Buffalo. It's pretty much a weekly or monthly occurrence out here. Would you keep plowing your vehicle through that when you couldn't see what's ahead of you because it's snowing so hard? Or would you pull over to the side and just sit and wait for the snow to stop? All of you in your minds are thinking I'd pull over. But I guarantee you, if we took every one of you and put you in that situation here in Buffalo, some of you would be like, honey, I can make it through this. Mostly the men. Honey, we got this. Hand me my beer. Hold my beer. Because people love risk. It's why casinos exist. It's why so many people, if given an opportunity or given a choice to decide the safe route or the risky route, they always take the risky route because it's just exciting. But that excitement, commonly called greed, is also a trap that will land you to working a lot more years of your life and not enjoying the freedom and not allowing your family to enjoy the freedom of financial security. Listen, folks, like you can look at Social Security. Social Security, like when we look at what now and what's next, Social Security tells you what's next for the average, for the masses. Out of 100 people or people in 100 room, 95 of them will not Let me repeat that. 95 out of 100 will not be financially secure at the age of retirement. Only 5 will be. We didn't come up with that number. That's Social Security. That's what's next for most. But see, all of you are on here. You are the 5% because you're here. You're willing to learn. But learning is half of it. This is a free training. Free doesn't mean anything. You didn't pay to be here, so you're not putting value on this. Just because it's free doesn't mean you shouldn't take action on it. If I charged you $1,000 to be here today, would you take what I'm saying more serious because you paid for it? Let me give you the answer. The answer is absolutely you would. But you didn't pay $1,000 here. But if you just pretend and you trick your mind to believing that you paid $1,000 to get this knowledge today, you would take action on that knowledge because now you feel like you're obligated because you've got to get that money back and you take action on it. Sometimes I think maybe this event, maybe this webinar should be charged. Maybe we should charge like Sean Whalen does. He charges $297 a month. We do it for free. But I fear so often that too many of you don't take action on anything we say because it's free. So you don't put a value on this knowledge. You don't put a value on this training simply because you didn't pay for it. Stephen, what do you have to say about that?
I think you made a video about that, right?
I did. It was a very good video.
No, it's 100% accurate. I mean, it's been proven in every way, shape, form, and fashion. But I think that most of the people on these wealth webinars, from the comments and looking at the list, I think that they understand that this is very, very valuable, even though we don't charge for it, because we seem to see the same names over and over and over and over and over and over and over every single week. So that has to say we're doing something correct, right? So, I'm a big fan of continuing to do this for free and make it better and better and better, actually. Just continue to improve it and make it more and more valuable. I'd rather give things away for free than nickel and dime here and there. And, if you give out enough stuff for free, then, somehow, some way, things will come back to you. So it always seems to work out that way.
And that's why we do it. We constantly give things. We constantly give, because that's just the universal law. It's one of the laws of wealth. Give and you shall get, but you can't focus on the get. But I'm simply just trying to make a point, like if you,
and if somebody, the other thing I'll add real fast is if somebody, if you're just at the beginning stages of all this and you're not ready to jump in to surround yourself with people like us in Sundance, Utah for $5,000, and you're not ready to take your life and your business and your investments to that next level, start small. Just hop on these webinars each week. Pay $19 a month and join Money School TV and get started with our coaching program through MSTV. I mean, it's $19 a month. So you don't have to be all or nothing. You can take baby steps along the way, and I'll share the link for MSTV, but that's a great way to start out being like, hey, listen, I know I want to do something new for 22. I'm not ready to jump all in. So let me see, where do I start with that? Well, there you go. Start with these wealth webinars and join MSTV, and let's take it from there. Schedule your first call. If you've never spoken to me on the phone about what your investment strategy is, about privatized banking, about whatever, schedule a call with me. Let's talk. Let's start digging into it. But I can promise you one thing, if you don't do anything right now and we get to talk about this time next year in 2023, and you look back to this today and you're like, holy shit, a year has gone by. I didn't do anything then and nothing in my life has changed. What are you going to do, right? You got to do something. So take that first step, implement it, and let's go from there. Baby steps, though. Remember, you got to crawl before you walk. You got to walk before you run. But once you're up and running, I mean, marathons, Ironmans, whatever you do, the sky's the limit at that point, but you got to start somewhere.
It's just incredible. I mean, if you ever were to really dig into the people that are actually applying this knowledge, that are getting on the phone, that are getting their banking system set up, that are actually taking action on this stuff, just compare a year ago where they were, the what now then, to where they're at now, the what's next. It's remarkable.
So someone just said that's been with us for a little over a year now.
Somebody that's been with us a little over a year said, that's what I've done, Stephen, almost a year now, and I'm debt free and I have invested. Life changing. Thank you, Chris and the team and Stephen and all that good stuff. Listen, we're not playing the testimonial card. Lots of people do. We're not here to sell you something. Yes, we talk about the experience. You shouldn't have to be sold that. You should just realize that that's what you need to do. If you're one of the ones that would be, if you need to be in that right environment, where you're around the people that are going to be at the experience, then this should be a simple decision. If you're like, oh, well, I don't have $5,000, great. Come up with a payment plan. Like you have until March to pay for it. I had somebody, from, and I don't know if he's on here, but somebody that I grew up with send me a message saying, oh, I want to go to that event. And then as soon as I send it to him, he's like, oh, wow, that's expensive. And immediately I'm just like, oh, that's because you're from Buffalo. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Everybody's got a limited mindset here. And he started saying, well, can you give me a deal? Like, why am I going to give you a deal? You don't even want to help yourself because all you're focused on is the cost. You don't even understand the value. And that's what I said to him. And I never even replied because I can't fix broken mindsets, folks. Steven can't fix your broken mindset. We can fix your wealth situation, your financial situation, but we can't fix this thing. If that's broken, that's where you got to start. You got to get around the campfire more, and you got to start realizing that you're not a special snowflake, that you're not the only one on a little deserted island with the problems you have. Lots of people have those problems, and lots of people have solved those problems by changing one thing and taking additional steps, but they leaped. That's the difference. One person leaped, the other person complained. Which side of the fence you're going to be on? You're going to be the one that buries your head or stands up and raises the torch. That's kind of what I'm trying to say. I don't mean to talk like I'm preaching to you, but seriously, the answer to your problem sometimes is so simple and so right in front of your face that's why you can't see it, because you're listening to all the noise around you. You're listening to everybody talk to you and tell you things when they don't even have a resume. They don't even have an accomplishment that they can attach to. They just say, oh, that's a scam. Oh, that never works. Have you done it? Do you know that it's a scam? Do you know that it doesn't work? Well, no, but I heard. No, because you're telling me because you failed at life, because you didn't succeed. You didn't reach out and actually chase your dreams. You just conform to what everybody else told you. So you think that that's what you should do for everybody else. Tell them to conform to your failed dreams, your failed realities. Bullshit. That isn't how you get ahead in life. You get ahead in life by doing what the others won't do. You get ahead in life by realizing that the opportunity and anything you want of life is there for you. All you need to do is ask and take action on it. Anything you want of life, life will provide you. But that's the easy answer, right? There's work. Elon Musk, one of the wealthiest, richest men in the world. The dude sleeps on his factory floor. Why? Because he doesn't have time to go home and shower. Watch the interview. We have a video we're going to be posting about that. Elon Musk is different because he is driven by a different pursuit, a different passion, a different dream. It's not money for him anymore. He doesn't need more money. He's a volunteer today, if you really think about it, because sometimes in life, when you hit a certain level, or even just now, it doesn't matter what level you're at, you are chasing something much bigger than money. And I would urge all of you not to make money your primary thing. Money's just a tool. That's all we talk about is money and wealth and everything. But I just want you all to understand that money isn't the sole purpose of why I do what I do. It's not the sole purpose of why Steven does what he does. That's why these events are free. We're driven by a higher calling, a bigger purpose, a bigger dream. Do we get paid for chasing that dream? Yes. But does it take time? Oh, Steven can tell you, holy crap, that road to get there took a lot. It wasn't easy. Sure, maybe I didn't sleep on a concrete floor in a factory where there's cars being built, but that's Elon's story. Mine's different. I slept on cardboard boxes in the back of a skateboard shop, crying, wondering how I was going to make the next day happen. But I never gave up. And I never listened to other people telling me. Mine looked
like the crypto chart for a while there.
I love it. I love it. So I will pose the question to you in closing here, folks. What's next? What's next for you? What changes are you going to make? What knowledge are you going to apply? What are you going to do? Some of you are thinking, oh, I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. Pick one thing right now. Write it down. Grab a pen and write down what your one thing is you're going to do next. You don't need to do them all. One thing, and start with the easiest, smallest one, because here's a little tip, a little tip I can give you. If you always chase the big dreams, it's very hard to get them because it's a lonely road getting there. But if you chase tiny little sustainable goals, little things like, all right, tomorrow I'm going to wash my car. I know that sounds silly, but once you wash your car, you feel a sense of accomplishment. Okay. Tomorrow I'm going to set up a Coinbase account, or I'm going to set up a self-directed IRA with Chris and his team to start putting $100 a month into my crypto IRA. Monumental, easy step, right? Maybe it's not $100 a month. Maybe it's $50. Maybe it's $20. I don't care. small little goals. So when you do it, you're like, man, got that one done. And then you do another small goal. The big dream will always be there, but we got to take little steps to get to the big dream, because if we don't, it's very hard, because we never have those little wins that we need, the little dopamine hits, the little success stories. Yeah, hey, I was going to set up this self-directed IRA and I did it, or I was going to set up my banking system and I did it. Even though it's a really small one, I started. I took the leap. Start with the small goals, because then you have the successes every single day of every single week of every single month. If you just chase the big one, it's hard, folks. Hard. All right, if you like that video, make sure you check out this video right now. And also don't forget, subscribe to my channel, and don't ever forget to smash that alert button. We'll see you on the next one.